Welcome to A Bit of Insight, where we explore how to live well, travel far, and inspire others along the way. I'm your host, Lisa Mosbey, and if you're ready to design a life you don't need a vacation from, you're in the right place. So many women are incredibly accomplished. They've built careers, raised families, and started businesses. They've achieved things others admire. And yet, there's still that quiet voice that whispers, play it safe, stay where it's comfortable, don't take the risk. But sometimes the most powerful thing a woman can do is to pack a suitcase and go. At least that's my motto, because travel has a way of turning self doubt into courage. My guest today helps high achieving women turn their voice of doubt into direction and confidence. And we're also exploring something I believe deeply in, and that's travel. Especially when women travel together, it can completely change how we see ourselves and what we believe is possible. Welcome, Lee. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. So excited to be here with you in the audience.
Yeah. Folks, I'm Lisa Mosby, your host, and Lee is a women's business coach and speaker who helps high achieving women transform self doubt into confident self direction. We met at the International Women's Day conference last year. We were both speakers. And one of the things that we immediately connected on was our love of travel and how it changed us. So today we're talking about confidence, courage, and why women should travel more, and especially why they should travel together. So, my first question is there a place that you've been, a place or a trip that changed you, that had a profound effect on you?
Oh, two come to mind right away, Lisa. Oh my goodness. The first would be when I was 16 and I got to do a 6-week trip over to Europe with my mom. It was a pilgrimage because I grew up Catholic, and this was in 1988 when Pope John Paul II canonized 117 Vietnamese saints. So because we have saints in our family that were being canonized that day, we had this trip put over. And it was my first time going out of the country. Well, that I could remember. My mom took me back to Vietnam, but that was my first year of life, so I don't have any recollection of that. But when I got to Europe and after, growing up in the States all that time, that you travel and you travel and you travel and everybody speaks English and nothing really changes state to state, right? But you can travel that same distance in Europe and it's a whole different land. It's a whole different language. It's a whole different culture. And so being exposed to that, where we started in Germany and then we went through France and over to Portugal and back through Spain and then in Italy, was phenomenal. And then being there in St. Peter's Square with these Vietnamese people from all over parts of the globe. And I'm just the 16-year-old, arrogant American teenager, and just, all these things in my head. And as we're crowding into this one place, I think I bumped into the person in front of me, and she turned and she started making a conversation with me. So imagine this: I'm this 16-year-old, entitled American, right? Spoiled rotten brat. And here is this gal looking at me. I see her. She's got this Vietnamese face. She's speaking English, but it's in an Australian accent. My brain is like, what is happening right now? So it's recognizing that they can come from all over, and then we have a nationality, but we also have an ethnicity, and then we have our language, and they can be three entirely different things, but there is a combination that makes us us. And then the one little tidbit from that trip too was to be about, oh my gosh, I was probably no more than 15 feet away from Pope John Paul II. And I went to lift the camera to take the picture and it wouldn't take. And this is all before cell phones and things like that. So all I had literally was the camera, and the camera wouldn't function. And I just put my camera down and I looked up to the heavens and I said, I get it. because I understood in that moment it wasn't about taking the picture. It was about being so present that I was soaking up not only the immense energy from the Pope himself, but this incredible experience that I was
Where you
having.
were. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it was amazing, amazing. And the other story just fell out of my head, so I'm going to stick with that one for
I
now.
love it. That
I
one's the
mean,
appropriate
this
one.
this was my first family cruise. So, my it was my husband and my daughter, and so we sailed out of Seattle up to Washington. And on the particular ship where the observation deck was, we could sit where we could see forward facing. And as we're cruising up from the United States mainland all the way up,
in the part of growing, but where they fit in the internal capacity they grow.
and the other story, Lisa, oh my gosh, yes, this was life-changing for me too, was my first family cruise. And we were sailing from Seattle to Alaska. And we got to sit on the front of the observation deck and looking outward and looking so far outward that I noticed that there was this blip of water splashing out. And and then I'm like, what is that? And then as we got closer, I would see it again. It was a whale spout. And I became the whale whisperer that day because I would say spit, and everybody would turn and look. And we did do an excursion in Juneau where we got very up close and personal with the whales, and seeing these massive, large body animals be so graceful in the water, and then just so powerfully take their entire bodies out of the water or in that beautiful fin splash. It
Right.
it 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 does. It changes you. Like, I'm just this teeny tiny human being compared to this massively large animal, and yet we share this space. And there is a bit of a spirituality around that too, right? That of how we're connected. And I've been so blessed that not only in Juneau, in Cabo San Lucas, and in Hawaii, in other places in the world, I've been able to watch these whales, and they're absolutely gorgeous creatures. And seeing it on National Geographic is one thing, and it's great because, yeah, those cameras can get so close to those creatures, right? But when you see it in person, it does. It powerfully creates a shift in your being. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I did see whales in Alaska, California off the coast, but my experience like that was actually with orcas off the coast of Boston. I had just flown in, couldn't check into my hotel, was there for a conference, went straight to the wharf, had them hold my bags, and hopped on a boat. And I was the whale whisperer that day because every time I would see it, everybody would shift. And finally, the boat driver invited me to the front. He's like, "Your eyes are just tuned in. You're noticing that difference, that break in the water. So get up here, girl."
Right.
So it was amazing. I think we had chased down seven. I don't know if they call them pods or
Yes.
groupings, yeah, of
Wow.
orcas, but it was amazing. And
Wow.
I'd mentioned before we started filming this South Africa how profound that was for me because there's no fence. It's not like you're at the zoo and you're looking eye to eye with some of these animals that could eat you, could kill you, and it just does something to you. But I want to talk about that quiet voice, that one that's responsible for that inner dialogue that we have, the one that is responsible for our success pressure. Many women look successful on paper, but they still struggle with self doubt. Why does that happen? We get to go have these profound experiences. And as a business coach, we see these amazingly successful women, and yet we have imposter syndrome, self doubt. We shrink ourselves to make other people look larger. And I think when I travel, I change. I become this confident, courageous, brave woman who goes and does things. But yet, coming back, there are times where I can still be taken out at the knees by life's experiences or confrontation in a business setting. I'd like for you to talk about that.
Yes. Well, I jokingly say I blame our mothers. Our mothers. They were so good in raising us, right? And if you grow up in it, with a tiger Asian mom, oh boy, the things that come down. Well, for me, it starts when I was around 7 years old, and being the oldest of the three of us siblings, because of the age difference, I was initially entertaining myself. And one of the things that I liked to do was grab a mirror and kind of look at myself, not in a vanity way, but that's the only way we can see ourselves, right? What are other people seeing when they look at me? Oh, look in the mirror. That's what they see. So I had this curiosity. And then one of the times that I was doing that, my face morphed, or at least it seemed it did. And then what I saw was my dad's face. And with that came my dad's voice. And he said, Lee, you're so smart, you're so brilliant, you can do anything. And I thought, oh, well, that was pretty cool. Well, then I wondered, can I see my mom's face? And so I shook that off and I looked at it and then intentionally stared at my face to see, can I morph it into my mom's face? And I did do that. And yep, her voice popped into my head, but it was, when are you going to be good enough? You missed a spot. Why can't you be like so and so? You are so smart. So why don't you know better already? Those types of things. And it was like, oh, I don't really like that. And so shake that off really quick. And then I was like, okay, well, I heard my dad, I heard my mom, but do I have a voice? And what does that sound like? So then I looked at myself again and just kind of, what do I see? And then, am I hearing anything? And I did. And it was, Lee, you're so lovable. You're capable. You're a good girl. You like to have fun. And I thought, oh, I do have a voice. Okay. Well, that voice has been with me ever since. And we talk about travel, right, Lisa? And many of us think of it as an escape, but guess what? You cannot escape. I don't care where you go on the planet. You can go to the moon, you can go to the depths of the sea, you can go anywhere far and wide, but that voice is going to be right there with you. So wouldn't it be more fun and more serving if it's your best friend and not a self-saboteur, the inner critic that reminds us, you're not good enough, you're not ready. So, what makes you think you're going to do that? Or you want to do that, but you've never done it before. So really, you think you're going to do it now? All of those things. And now I jokingly say, sure, I blame my mom, but really it's part of the human experience where we just naturally it's just a comfortable thing to cling to that negative. It somehow seems easier to just agree with that. And really what it comes down to is, where is the attention going? There's always a fun exercise that thought leaders love to do in the room, whether you're talking about Tony Robbins or Mel Robbins, and anybody in between. They'll do an exercise with you. Look around the room right now. How many things that do you see that are blue? And so everybody looks around and they're seeing all the blue things, and then the thought leader says, okay, well, come back front and center in the room. Great. Close your eyes. Okay, now tell me how many things in the room were red. And immediately you're gonna go, I don't
I didn't
know.
see red.
I didn't see red. Is it because the red wasn't there? Or wait, that's not what you were paying attention to. And it's the same thing with our self-talk. Research has shown that we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts that go through our mind day in and day out. It's our brain processing all of our sensory experiences and our internal reactions. And if we're not mindful to that, 85% of those thoughts are the same thoughts we had today, yesterday, the day before that, the day before that, which means we have this replay loop going on. Well, 80% of that leans toward the negative. Unless you were like me, I consider myself to be a little bit rare, because since I caught myself awareness at 7 and knew that I had a voice, I did pay attention to, well, what am I saying to myself? Now, that does not exempt me from coming up with saying, Ollie, you're not good enough. Ollie, you're procrastinating. Oh, look at you, just playing small in the fear. I am guilty of that just as well.
We
But
are
I
both human.
can't. Yes. Still human. I can catch that awareness and really pay attention to that. So, if thought leaders will say, okay, well, look around the room again. Now notice how many things are red. And now you notice them again because you're looking for them. So, same thing with your thoughts. You can look for your thoughts. You can ask, are they being kind and supportive, or are they being like a crab in a bucket and pulling me down while I'm chasing after and I'm doing things that I think are the right things to do? And yet there's this playing small. So I believe it's critical. I believe it's crucial that self-leadership begins with the self-talk. So number one, are you aware of what's in your room? And if it's not the blue talk that you want, or it's not the red talk that you want and you want the blue talk, well, then start looking for that and start saying that to yourself. And then in like the mirror game, that internal reflection will be reflecting outwards, and you'll be amazed at what you pay attention to in your life, especially if you're traveling too.
Yeah. I always tie everything to travel with my book, with the podcast, everything's tied to travel because it was such a profound experience. And not just for me, it's actually observing other people who have traveled with me, other women who are stepping outside of their comfort zone. And I'm curious, as a coach and in your profession, what have you noticed, or what do you think happens? Why does stepping into a new environment change how we see ourselves?
Yes. I think it comes back to that reflection. One, when we are doing our day in and day out, there's an environment internally and externally. The internal environment might be our morning routine, how we wake up in the morning, how we go through our day, how we close out our day before we go to sleep. In doing that day in and day out, we create this environment of comfort zone for us. And our brain tends to get locked into this idea of how I've set up my world is how the rest of the world works. And then when you actually get out beyond that, I have a home office here. This is where I work day in and day out. And so when I travel, I'm getting out of this room. I'm getting out of my house. I'm getting out of my neighborhood. I'm getting out of my city. I'm getting out of the familiar streets that I know and experiencing that something new. It's like, oh, this is another level of my reality. And those experiences and what I'm paying attention to and choose to see, where it's like, oh, there's another human being, and maybe her skin color is different, and maybe her eyes are set differently, but she smiles like I smile, or she waves high like I wave high, or I can see she has clothes. She probably puts her pants on the same way that I do, and she puts on shoes and she puts on clothes, and she probably looks at herself in the mirror very similar to I do, and does when she looks at herself in the mirror, is she loving herself? Or is she the type of human who looks at herself in the mirror? Oh, there's another gray hair. Oh, there's another age spot. Oh, there's another fine. Is it that? Or does she look at herself with curiosity, like, oh, how am I going to show up in the world today? Or who am I going to meet today? And recognizing there's a sameness and yet there's a difference. And can I see those things and recognize, what do I like about what I see? What do I like about what I experience? And I love, love, love meeting different people. And if we can get past the language barrier in some way, I have enough Spanish that I can get the gist of what people saying. So I love speaking in Spanish countries. I studied French in high school, so I can pick up a few words from and I love the French language. It's such a beautiful language. But all these different people, and if I can get those bits and pieces, it allows me to learn more about myself and to recognize that, sure, like the song says on the Disney attraction, it's a small world after all, but yet there is this whole bigness to it as well. And that bigness for me creates more curiosity and more wondering and really experiencing the full definition of awesome. Now, growing up as a kid in the 80s, yes, I said awesome a lot. But when you can really get intentional with that word of awesome. That's what really changes you. And then take that in as a self-reflection when you get home. Be present in the moment, experience all the things. And then when you're getting home or the flight home, whatever it happens to be, let that be the time of self-reflection of, well, what did I learn and what did I like and what do I want to stay with me? And that it becomes a seed in the way it blooms in your being really adds to your life, whether it adds to your flavor or it adds to your desire of how you want to show up or how you want to take in those experiences. I believe it's super, super powerful. I get out and travel. It's a must do.
I love the word awesome. I think of everything in terms of awesomeness, wherever I am in the world. I always, when you said that when you're with the whales, you realize how teeny tiny you are. And for me, that's true. I lived in Nevada. I went to the Grand Canyon. I've been to, huge bodies of land and space. And you just realize, standing at the edge of the ocean in the panhandle these last 4 months is kind of, oh my gosh, I am the size of a grain of sand in the world, and maybe smaller. Our significance goes away. Speaking of Tony Robbins, he said that we have 6 human needs, and significance is one of them. But we become
Yes.
insignificant in the vastness of awesome. And I think that's what travel gifts me, is like it humbles me. It causes me to be a little fearful, like coming into that space of being brave and courageous, and it draws something out of you. And I know you have a big trip, a first time business trip coming up.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that. Where are you going? How many people are going to be there? And tell me about like what's happening within your cells, within your system as you're looking forward to this event.
Yeah, so it's another new experience, and that seems to be the kind of theme that's happening, unfolding for me in this year, which is definitely exciting. So I'm flying from my home here in Reno, Nevada to San Juan, Puerto Rico. And my husband is coming along with me. And we have not been to Puerto Rico since our anniversary, since our wedding, which is almost 25 years ago now. And so that's going to be exciting. We're kicking off a pregame for ourselves where we're going to spend some actual time in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And then we're going to board a cruise ship and take a 7-day cruise through, let's see, we hit Tortola, British Virgin Islands, and St. Lucia, St. John's Antigua, St. Martin, and Barbados. And so being able to see these places is going to be amazing, beautiful islands in the Caribbean. And it's new to me. Well, number one, it's a new cruise line I have not been on before. It's an adults only cruise line, so that's going to be fun to not have kids tripping me up on the stairs or
I know which one
splashing me when I'm
that
in
is.
full zone. And then it's also networking because there's over 500 business professionals and entrepreneurs coming together in this group. So we're going to have networking opportunities. I'm not one of the speakers this time because this is my first time doing this. There are going to be speakers. They're delivering their value, and I can't wait to take all the copious notes. They put together a printed directory of everybody attending, so I can't wait to do all the networking and then bring that home and keep those relationships going. And so there is a curiosity of what is this experience going to be like with the no kids. What is this experience going to be like where I'm actually doing work and my husband is with me? And am I going to be okay? Because if you're a mom and you have kids, I know the mom guilt. I've been through that, but now that I'm an empty nester, I get spouse guilt because my husband is my best friend. And so if I know that he's not doing anything and I'm working, I get that spouse guilt. So
Oh,
we've
he'll be
had
doing
many
something.
conversations about that. And
I've
he
been to
said,
those
don't
beaches,
worry.
every one of those islands. Don't worry about him.
Yes.
He's good to
He said,
go.
yeah,
The only place I didn't
he
go
said
from that
no.
was
Yeah,
is
he
San
said, don't
Juan. Yeah,
worry about me. Yeah, he
yeah,
said, don't
yeah.
worry about me. I'm going to be on the ship or I'm going to be doing my thing. You go do your thing. And then it's a curiosity of who all am I going to meet? I've seen a little bit of the list. I know about 10 of the 500. So it's like, oh, who do I get to meet and make that connection where we can do collaborations or I can add value. I would love to be invited back as a speaker delivering my value and creating that impact. So there's so many things. And then of course I can't wait to snorkel and see all the fish and all the different island cities there, experiencing that. So it's going to be a wonderful time. And then yeah, and doing business in that type of environment, that's a different curiosity as well too, right? And knowing some of the experience of some of the people who are going to be there. I'm like this itty bitty fish in this pond of big fish doing big things, but knowing that's a growth opportunity for me. But truthfully, Lisa, it's also I had to be mindful of my imposter syndrome and just say, no, the universe would not give me this opportunity if I wasn't ready for it, if it wasn't made for me to be there, if it wasn't important, if it wasn't meant to be, it wouldn't be happening. So it is happening, and I'm taking it on with excitement, and I can't wait. And I may just have to come back and share those experiences with you.
Oh, it'd be my pleasure. It'd be my pleasure. You're going with your husband, and I think that that's a different experience than when you're going with a group of women too, because when we're with a
Yeah,
group of women, we sometimes we bring out that confidence in each other. Somebody's got our back.
yeah,
He's going to be doing his own thing. So it's almost partially a solo trip because you did say that you
yeah,
know a handful of people that are there. So you'll have people who have your back. But how
yeah.
does travel accelerate like friendships and personal growth and stretching our boundaries and causing us to step into, further and further away from imposter syndrome and more into empowerment for
Yeah,
ourselves?
yes. So think about if you get out for whatever type of entertainment. Let's say if you go to a music concert or you go to watch a movie, you're having a collective experience, right? But the difference between the concert and the movie is that you're not bonding with those people. When you travel and you're in a cohort, especially with women, and whether some have been there before or they're doing it for the first time, you are having this experience together. And so in that time, whether it's a day trip or a week long or what have you, you're having those opportunities to, as I call it, break bread. And there's something magic that happens when you break bread with somebody. And then you're engaging in that conversation. And so when you're reflecting back, oh gosh, remember when we walked through that church and all the art, the architecture? Oh my goodness. Or remember, when we stood the other night and that sunset was so incredible? Or God, remember when Lisa just went, whale, and we just you're all laughing together, and you're sharing those memories, and it's engaging all of your senses, right? You're thinking about, what did I see? What did I hear? What did I taste? What did I touch? All of those things. And then you're having that common experience. And as you're talking about it, it seals it in your mind. And then there is this, whoa, I did that. I did that. And so if especially if you're experiencing something new, and you know that you're cheering each other on, it's giving that dopamine effect where the brain was like, yeah, I did that. And that felt really good. And what else can I do that's going to feel really good like that? And so you can't help but build the confidence. That's where you really, whether you're going to journal it, a voice recorded in some way, or you've got the pictures or the videos, where create a time block for yourself, especially if you are back home in that environment and now you are going to do something new and you feel that inner critic coming up like, really? This is what you're going to try? Who are you? When that comes up, you whip that out like, no, remember that? Remember that we did that. I went somewhere I had never seen before, and we laughed together, we cried together, we danced together. All we have these amazing stories because of something we did that was new. There was the uncertainty, but we built the confidence. Borrow that and
I mean, what
then
would you
go do
say? What would you
something.
say to a woman listening who keeps telling herself, maybe someday? That's where I want to wrap
Oh,
this podcast up on.
oh, honey, someday never happens. Tomorrow is not promised to you. So make your someday today. Make it today. What can you put in the calendar, right? Whip it out. grab your phone, grab your calendar. Where can you put a date? And you don't have to have the specific details, but you're going to say, all right, I'm gonna travel. And whether just let the travel be outside of your comfort zone. It can be outside of your city, if it's crossing the state border and you're going to into a part of a city that you don't know, it can be that small. Or if you're ready to like, no, my maybe someday needs to be something big. I need the courage for that. Fantastic. Put it in. Put it in your calendar, because what gets scheduled gets done. And let that start the ball rolling, and then allow the how. But if you keep saying maybe someday, I'm sorry, you're setting yourself up for failure, and you are not worthy of failure. You don't deserve failure. You deserve to fully live. You deserve to fully come alive. You deserve to build that confidence, and you deserve that experience to make it happen. Whether you're doing it as a solo traveler, or you're doing with women and arm in arm and doing those things. Or if you're taking your spouse along, that's okay too. But go make it happen. Do not. You've got to release it. Maybe someday is not serving you. Let it go, and then go do something.
Get it scheduled. I love it. If folks want to connect with you, if they've enjoyed your message, your enthusiasm, your excitement, your zest for life, and your travel experiences, how do folks get in touch with you?
Thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate that question. And the best way to do that is know that I am so passionate about rewriting your self-talk. So that's the URL I have, rewriteyourselftalk.com. And when you go there, I'm going to give you a free gift. It is my positive self-talk guide that I have put together, because I'm quite aware of the negative things that we say to ourselves. And I've put it into a reframe. So if you're like, oh, well, yeah, I caught the thought, but what do I change it to? Well, I'm going to help you with that. It's a free PDF. It's called Don't Say That, Say This. And so on the left-hand side, it's the Don't Say That, and it tells you exactly say this. And you can print it out, and you can put it by your side where you can look at it every day. You can download it onto your phone and put it as a screensaver. So when you catch the thought, you're like, oh, that's the thought. Oh, that's what I say now. Or you can tape it to your bathroom mirror, because that's where most of us speak to ourselves anyway. And you can have it there every day until you develop the habit of that reframe. It's a fantastic tool. And so get you from the negative. So you stop saying maybe someday. That's not one on the list, but maybe I need to add that in. You stop saying maybe someday, and you start saying it starts now. And you go and make that happen. So rewriteyourselftalk.com, and we can get the conversation going. I look forward to it.
Beautiful. And that's where we'll leave it. Thank you so much for your insights today. Folks, this is a great message. And one of the things that I've learned in my life is that confidence rarely comes from sitting still. It comes from movement. It comes from new places. It comes from new people, new experiences that stretch us beyond the version of ourselves that we thought we had to stay in, or that we thought we were. There's something within us that needs to come out. Travel has a way of reminding us that the world is bigger than our doubts, and so are we. So that's it for today's episode. If the conversation sparked something in you, don't ignore that still small voice. Maybe it's telling you to explore more, travel more, or simply trust yourself a little bit more to go somewhere else in your neighborhood. Take a different way home tomorrow. You can find more conversations like this, along with travel inspiration, podcast replays, and upcoming group travel experiences at my website, abitofinsight.com. Until next time, live well, travel far, and inspire others along the way. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me on A Bit of Insight. If something today stirred your curiosity or lit a spark, don't let it fade. Through Insight Getaways, I curate intentional travel experiences around the world, and I also help women book unforgettable journeys they design. Whether you want to explore solo, travel with friends, or join one of my escorted group adventures, there's a place for you. You'll find details, resources, and upcoming experiences at insightgetaways.com. Be sure to share this episode with someone who needs a little courage and clarity. Let's spread the message and reach more women ready for their next chapter. Until next time, live well, travel far, and inspire others.